This conference will now be recorded.
We were able to get a lot of people from all over the world, and many of them have said, please, we want to see the meetings. So this is our first try in California. We were able to do it a couple of weeks ago, and this is like our first official one in Florida. So hopefully, you are you're gonna have a lot of fun. My name is Rod Soto. It's Jonathan Respeto, and
I'm closer to the mic.
we co-organize HackMiami. We've been doing this for now what? Oh my God, forever.
For a long time.
Right,
I know, 8, 10 years already.
Yeah, over a decade.
Yeah, it's been over 10 years.
Yeah, it's been over 10 years. We did the conference at the in Duville, which, just so you know, has been, I think it's ordered to be demolished, which is kind of sad. We may bring an event this year. We don't know yet how. There is a lot of news about the mandates going away, and that's awesome because as soon as the mandates are off, people start traveling, and then maybe we'll have a chance to do an event. We don't know yet. I don't want to go back to spend hotels where they treat you guys very bad. I don't want to do that again. We're trying to find a venue that's suitable that we can have like the first 2, 3 HackMiami, which were the best ones. One of them was in Rolling Stone. But we had to do some research, and hopefully the disease, the pandemic will not pick up. And then usually, I was actually negotiating with a venue in December, and as I was about to sign, then we got Omicron. So I wasted my time, right? So we're going to try to find a suitable venue. I started thinking of a open conference, like free, right? But obviously, if it's free, it's not going to be beachfront, right? Or something that fancy. But we would do an event this year. We had to. If the conditions are there, we are going to do an event, and we will inform you when. I don't think it will happen by May. Probably December. We're gonna really hold off until December.
We'll probably, if we do December, will probably be the Winter Hacker Fest again.
Right.
We'll
but we do like a mini con, right?
Or it was a mini con this year. It was at the Renaissance Charter School this year in Cooper City. It was a great event. We had 15 people show up.
Right.
Great during the pandemic. So hopefully we get about another 30 people next time. So we get some great more conversations going. It was a really good small conference that day. We had lockpick footage. We had I brought out the 3D printer that gave out some commemorative tokens so that you guys could collect them. If you weren't there, you didn't get this year's tokens. So.
Right.
But there is this year coming up in December. All right. So today we're talking about Metaverse 101 and self-driving cars 101. We have our presenter Rod Soto and our friend Reverend Helix as he goes by. So we're gonna be, and without further ado, that's
it. I'm coming. So thanks for coming again. We're gonna try to do this again every 2 weeks. We are more than welcome to propose a subject. If you want to present, we need presenters, we need content. This is all about you. You make HackMiami, right? HackMiami is all about you. We'll just try to put it together, but at the end, you are the messenger. And we want you to if you have subjects or things that you want to talk about, we will be glad to host you. We'll record it, we'll put it on YouTube, and that's how it works. And it has worked like that for 10 years, and now we have people, believe it or not, it works at 3-letter agencies, all kinds of, what is that? I don't know what that is.
May.
Oh, he's there. Okay. There are some comments in the meetup. Can you tell them, can you send them the right link?
Yeah, I put.
Well, May's not a corporate man, I've been told. He's in a big corporation, so good for him. So basically, we have today is example of that. So today we try to address new technologies and threat scenarios. Most of us are in the industry. We have a professional pen tester here, international now speaker, We have a very senior and seasoned security professionals here. Some of them have worked in some of the biggest companies in the world. I've been lucky enough to work with them, and we welcome new people, welcome helping you guys. For those of you who are young, or if you are already in one industry, you want to get a job in cybersecurity, we do have a channel and a Discord channel where we place our job offers for everyone. Right? Sometimes we even refer you directly. We have an excellent recruiter, which is right there. She's the only recruiter, just so you know, that has ever been allowed in HackMiami, so you can trust. All right, so she's about the only one. We don't let anybody else. We actually don't even let recruiters in the Discord because we had had some past bad experiences, unfortunately. But we do certainly intend to become that help that you need to connect with other professionals. We go to conferences. We have teams that compete at DEF CON. Example of this is this gentleman right here. Last year, again, we cannot say it enough how proud we are of him. He won Black Badge at DEF CON Capture the Packet. So this gentleman right here is living history. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. So we do have a Black Badge thanks to Respeto and Chad, of course. Yeah. We cannot let Chad out. Chad is incredible and amazing. He unfortunately moved out to Ohio, I think. Somewhere in the Midwest, right? So he's incredible too. We'll probably, you can always see him in during Hacker Summer Camp, which is usually when we all go to Las Vegas. I think it's better if I sit down now.
Yeah.
And, yeah. Okay, so before I start, I want to say the following things. What you're going to see today is a lot of my opinion, right? I don't hate these companies. I had nothing personal against the CEOs or the individuals that works at these companies. These are my opinions, had nothing to do with my employer. It is very possible that all of us eventually will work for these companies. It is actually happening.
Are you hearing us, Discord?
Somebody responded.
Yeah, we're good. Okay. And how about
It's
meeting's good. Yeah.
okay.
Great.
How about the comments in the? You tell them what was the meeting link?
Comments are right there in chat.
No, in the meetup page, there are some comments that I think Sabina was trying to get in, and all the people come down. Get refreshed. Get refreshed. I want to make sure everybody can get it.
Oh, we got 9 people already on meetup. I mean on.
Oh, you updated it. Yes. Right. Look in comments.
I didn't see any comments.
Weird. Look, we have this. Cindy and Samina, we're trying to get in. This is why.
I think they're already in.
They're already in? Okay.
No, I don't see zip. All
right. Can you post this in the comments? The link?
Yeah, sure.
All right. So again, let me. You have the actual presentation. Sorry. All right, there we go. So again, I don't hate these companies. I have nothing personal against the people that work at these companies. In fact, I know a lot of people that work at these companies. They're geniuses. They're great people, and they mean well. But there are certainly some challenges and some things that are already happening. In fact, before I even finished this presentation, some of the things that I was already predicting already happening. The idea of this is to basically further discussion. The idea of this is to question what's going on with these technologies, and then it's an intro to it. I don't intend to cover in terms of deep technical details of Web3. For example, we're going to talk about Web3 or other technologies. I did my research to my best availability and access to the technology. And then obviously, because I work in the security industry and I'm familiar with the crypto industry, I'm an advisor, disclaimer, I'm an advisor for a blockchain security company. I saw that some of these things I already have seen them. So what you're gonna see today is basically what I put together about it. This is me. What you see there, since we were talking about the metaverse, is the Google. These are the Google glasses, and this is kind of timely because that's the Planet Linux Cafe, right? So those glasses were I borrowed those glasses from one of our members. He's actually part of the Ubuntu project. He's pretty awesome. We don't see him very often, but he was actually testing them. Yeah, and I had to tell you that I actually walked outside of Planet Linux Cafe with those glasses, and I was able to grasp a little bit because it was very raw and basic augmented reality, right? So the glasses, I can tell you, as you can see, they're not really covering, and you can see it has like a little screen that you can see, like if you sort of looked up, and I was able to walk and actually see the information, and I thought it was promising. Unfortunately, for some reason, this project folded and never became, because it was gonna be revolutionary. Unfortunately, this did not happen. But one of the things that you're gonna find out today is that what is called the so-called metaverse. Many of those technologies are already here. Many of those things as realms of interaction have already been in the internet for some time. So I also created for the purposes of this presentation my first NFT, which is that Soto, the TTH, and it cost me quite a bit of money. It cost me over $200 in gas fees, and that's actually one of the things that we're going to talk about. What things are challenging or can even become a threat for these technologies that are related to the metaverse. So that's me right there. That was probably what, 7-8 years ago.
Oh,
yeah, all of you were there. Yeah, yeah, this is like very old. Right. So, okay, so the word metaverse comes from the Snow Crash novel written by Neil Stephenson, who has distanced himself from whatever the Mark Zuckerberg, which I think is, in my opinion, is the leading voice or figure that is promoting the metaverse, right? So what you see there is me, it's my avatar, it's my alter ego in the center line. So what you see in the back is the center line. So I'm going to show you some technologies that are considered as being part of the metaverse. So of course, in order to understand the metaverse, I needed to go into the metaverse, right? So that's me. That's as you can see, there's some time. I can customize myself. And what you see in the back of it, believe it or not, are events. In these realms that I'm going to talk about a little bit in a minute, there's all kinds of stuff going on. All kinds of stuff going on. Concerts, exchange of goods, some of them talking about in terms of virtual currency, and in other, we even had bartering, depending on what virtual world you are. So to get back at it, right? The word was taken from Neil Stephenson's Snow Crash novel. I'm sorry, but this is like covering the.
Yeah, just minimize.
Let me minimize this for a second. Okay. This novel was written in 1992. I haven't read this novel. Disclaimer. And he actually tweeted that whatever, for example, Facebook or now called Meta is doing he has nothing to do with it, right? But that's where the word comes from. A lot of what you will call in the metaverse is based on virtual realms, and virtual realms have been around for some time. They are not new. Metaverse is promised to be the next evolution of the internet. I'm going to show you some projections that I took from some other reports. I'm going to give you actually the links so you can read them. Facebook, who's now Meta, like I said before, spearheads the Metaverse as the ultimate social platform. That's how they call it. And it's basically a mix of reality plus internet plus virtual augmented reality technology plus cryptocurrency technology. That's sort of how I see this. Remember, I'm not an expert of this. This is an appreciation of the things that I research on. And a lot of these technologies, some of them have been there before, and some of them are evolving, and some of them are being created. But this is a company which I found very interesting called Missouri, which has some sort of a manifesto of what Web3 is. And they claim that Web3 is a promise of decentralization, increased privacy, new forms of income, and new principles of society.
They're not seeing
Having
this.
trouble?
They're not seeing this screen.
Oh, they're not seeing it?
I don't
Okay.
know why the.
See if you can go in applications. Oh, I know why.
Why?
Because you have to give us permission. So we may have to
Share main screen.
Yeah,
If you
you see
want-
the presentation on the Discord channel, but not on the GoToMeeting.
All right, 1 second.
Why don't you just, I can
One second.
share whatever, but okay.
No, 1 second.
Right.
Just take it out of this full screen mode.
All right, sorry guys, we're working on you seeing the presentation.
On Discord?
No, on the GoToMeeting.
Oh.
But the problem sometimes with GoToMeetings is that the permissions prevent you, so sometimes you have to get out and come
Yeah, you
back
have
to
to
the meeting.
restart when you apply
Yeah,
to
it's
system
just
preferences.
Mac OS stuff. Is this an M1?
No.
Okay.
Minimize this.
See if we can see. Can you guys see
Yeah,
it
I
now?
can see it now.
There you go.
Sorry, I just want to make sure.
There you go.
All right.
Can I get an affirmative for anybody in there?
Yeah, I see it on mine. So
Okay.
on Discord, it should be fine.
All right. Okay, so again, the etymology of this, and now, like I said before, there is some there's some talk about this, and I will show you a graph that actually how they predict the growth of what's going to be the metaverse in terms of I guess hosted sites. Some of this stuff I truly don't understand how will come to happen, but I will show you what they're saying. Okay, so if we go, well, what I call the road to metaverse, it's basically a potential $1 trillion+ economy, right? We're talking about augmented reality advertising. We're talking about having goggles, some sort of a device while you're watching a football game and you're connected to the internet. You can see the player displays, for example, the statistics of the player. You can zoom in, for example, like it was a video game, but it's a mix of reality and what they call augmented reality, which is adding components that you can do things to. They use certain devices. So we're talking sports events. Imagine, for example, having concerts and seeing holograms and interacting with people in different ways. So there's a lot, the potential for this, and the economy that this will bring is definitely there. We have things such as education, manufacturing. Manufacturing is already happening. The problem is usually that the augmented reality technologies is incredibly expensive. So there's still there are some issues and challenges. It's an aggressive expansion of the tech industry, for sure. We're seeing, for example, what I would say the renaissance of arts, right? Of things that now are NFTs, of designers being paid hundreds of dollars to create avatars, right? So certain professions are getting, to call it a certain way, a second wind with the advance in the road to the metaverse, because the metaverse, as you will see, has a lot of things that have to do with the senses and how you perceive things. Obviously, in order for us to have this sort of a world or realm, we need higher connectivity, we need higher processing power, and most of all, we need to have that higher processing power at the level of wearables, right? I got in my watch. I have some sort of glasses. Apple announced that they're coming with some glasses yet. We're talking about things at home, AI at home, computers, stuff like that. Gaming technologies are leading the adoption in the direction of the metaverse right now. That's mostly people that are in places that I will show you in just a minute, are usually the ones who are firsthand experiencing and in many ways shaping the culture and what's coming next. Of course, with the pandemic accelerated the online presence and the interest in VR, right? We all have, there were actually a couple, I think it was a couple, right? Security conferences that they had these avatars that they were talking, and then you would go in the rooms, and in the rooms, there was like a screen, and then there was a presenter, and then you would talk to somebody else. That did not last too long, by the way. I think there were a couple of conferences, and then that was it. Nobody pursued it anymore. And that's also another of the challenges that we will talk about it later on. I want you to pay attention to the dollar signs here, right? I want you to carefully pay attention to the dollar signs here. Why? Because there's a narrative that this somehow will be decentralized, will allow income distribution, and would allow us to sort of be more independent and sort of balance the power of the internet. But when you look at these numbers, I mean, you don't have to be a genius to figure it out, right? We do have an incredible amount of wealth and money that is already put into play in what is called the concept of the metaverse. Things like Fortnite, Roblox. I would say Roblox is one of the spearheading places of at least features for the metaverse. And NVIDIA, which is the cards that we use for cracking passwords, right? That's what we use NVIDIA for. We're gonna have to use it for something else. Facebook, that has Oculus, Horizon Ventures. We're talking about almost $871 billion. Facebook is definitely investing in the metaverse, and they are trying to be the place for the metaverse. And then, of course, we have technologies that are related to virtual reality, augmented reality. So then we have Google has some of it. Apple is getting into it as well, and then Microsoft. We have things such as the NFTs. I'm not gonna get into the full thing about an NFT, a non-fungible token, and its ownerships, and I think we should have an entire talk about it. If you've read Moxley's paper, I think that settles it, right? But the bottom line is that they're there, right? OpenSea has $13 billion market worth. They do an incredible amount of transactions, and I'm going to show you actually how they sell this in the metaverse. I'm going to show you in a minute. So they're going to stay there. Either you like the NFTs or whatever you think about them, they're going to stay there one way or the other. Some people say it's like the ICO. It's ICO, but now it's NFTs. But we can discuss that in like a crypto focused stuff. Today we're not going to be that focused on that. But there's one thing about the NFTs that you have to pay attention. One is the EIP 721, which is the non-fungible tokens, which can be incorporated into a smart contracts. That's what EIP 71 is. That's Ethereum, right? Ethereum is ERC20. That's the standard of Ethereum. I don't want to get too technical, but for those of you who understand crypto, Ethereum blockchains are based on the standard ERC20. EIP 721 is where the smart contracts with non-fungible tokens are introduced. And then on EIP 1155 is where multiple ownerships, fungible and fungible, are introduced, right? We can do an entire day of talking about this. We're not gonna get into it, but this is something you should research, right? Second Life, I don't think they get much love, but they've been there forever. Second Life, it's been there for a long time. Just like The Sims, if you ever played The Sims in the early 2000s, those are realms. Those are sort of a metaverse, right? I try to put an approximate of the numbers of people that they have. Second Life, for example, they had come down a little bit, but they have around 900,000 monthly users. The Central Line, which is, I thought I had actually a very positive experience in the Central Line. Has around 465,000 users and 50 million in P2P, right? Partner to partner, meaning entities that are interacting there. This is remarkable, right? For a virtual world, this is remarkable. So that is very positive. And of course, you have Fortnite, which is in a fight to death with Apple. We're not gonna get into that either. And then you have Roblox, which is, in my opinion, the leading place. And you may not know what Roblox is, but if you have kids that are between 12 and 15, you will know what Roblox is. I mean, they spend 24/7 in there. There's everything in Roblox. And actually, I'm about to show it to you. Okay, so here's something that I took from Goldman Sachs, which is, pretty mainstream. But this is a breakdown of what they look at the type of technologies. Like, because one of the things that comes up when you're talking about Metaverse is what is called the Web3. And what is the Web3? So they talk about things that are augmented reality, the centralized web. When they talk about the centralized web, I think about something like IPFS, or I think something about like DTooth. You guys know what DTooth is? It's a blockchain site like YouTube. So that type of stuff is what I sort of visualize. But there are some challenges that we are going to look at in a minute, right? They also claim that there will be more anonymity. I can tell you right now that's not going to happen, and I'm going to show you why. But this is sort of the breakdown of the technologies that they come. And to make it easier, and here's the link if you want, I will share this. So to make it easier, let's take a look at it. This is the center line, and this is me, my avatar. My avatar is, pay attention to the concept of the avatar, because the avatar is your alter ego, right? That's who you are in the metaverse. And at one point, I'm assuming you will have to authenticate with your fingerprint, or your avatar will become you, or you will become your avatar. Now, there are some risks about that, which I will talk about it, but here's how it looks right now. This is the center, which is pretty cool. I had a very positive experience in this side. I was actually looking for trouble, to be honest. This is how it looks like. I walk around, try to go to events. Here's, for example, an NFT. Like, you walk and there are galleries, and these galleries actually look pretty nice. And then in this case, as you can see, that's a work of art that you can actually purchase. You can see in OpenSea, like we talked about. OpenSea is the reference for exchanging, buying or selling NFTs, right? So here's an NFT. That is the price, right? So here we go. We have now H&M in the metaverse. We have Vans in the metaverse. We have Chipotle in the metaverse. Believe it or not, that is a Chipotle store. I was wondering how to order a burrito, but that's pretty cool, right? Right? I know it sounds silly, right? But wait, there is more. I know this sounds silly, and I know it looks childish, because the interactions of the avatars, they look like they don't really look something like you would empathize with. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't make it doesn't give you that sense of this is real. At least it makes you look like it's a video game, but this is the beginning of it. So you have to look into the future. This is the draft. This is what we're looking at as an MVP, a minimum viable product. So that's Roblox. That's me. I created. Roblox was very popular during the pandemic. It's a place that it's a company that I certainly look at because they certainly have been pretty successful at increasing their use base, and they have concerts in it. Do you know that they have been complete EVI events in Roblox where they have been? Do you know that major artists have given concerts in Roblox. They have. So there is an economy, and more than that, there is an incredible number of people that joins this world to see and interact with us. And also, look, I put that so you have a reference. You can buy Robux, right? A lot of these worlds have their own currencies, right? What's happening is that obviously with cryptocurrency, being like a driver for commerce and for exchanging goods, many of this either would trade a Bitcoin or you can even do it from person to person, right? So that's Roblox. I wanted to show you. Look, there's a concert right there. This is 21 Pilots, for example. It's another concert right there. There's all kinds of stuff going on in there, and believe it, it's 24/7. You can join and interact with this world. All right, so let me go back. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the principles of Web3, right? When we talk about Web3, they talk about what's next. And they say, at least the ones who are professing or trying to present this as the next thing that's going to happen, is open because it's built with open source software. It's trustless. Thank you. Because it allows the network itself allows participants to interact publicly or privately without any trust of third party. I don't think this is actually technically correct, but I'm just relaying what is being presented to us. And permissionless. Permissionless is that anyone, both users and suppliers, can participate without authorization from a governing body. That's also not exactly true, but that is some of the principles of it. Here's a great graph that I took from Coinbase. Coinbase, of course, is like the Federal Reserve of crypto, right? They don't intervene, they don't do many things to it, but for me, Coinbase is the reference. If you're doing crypto, Coinbase, at least in the US, it's a public company. They have great people who works for them. They are the people at the edge, ahead of trading cryptocurrency. So here is a breakdown of technologies, right? For those of you who are looking to invest, research, or even get jobs, of the companies that are actually participating in this number of Web3 technologies. So we have things such as an access layer. So check this out. They compare it. They tell you in Web2, you have Twitter, Discord, and Reddit. In Web3, you can have things like DAppRadar, Zapper, or you can have things like MetaMask, which is a actual wallet, or you have Brave or Phantom. So I suggest you that when I share this, you take a look at this and you go to the links, because this is something that if you are basically in technology, you're going to have to interact with these things at one point. This doesn't mean that these technologies are going to take over or these companies are going to be successful, but this is certainly an ecosystem of new companies that are focusing these technologies that are supposed to define what's coming next. And to make it a little more easy, or easier, better said, is how they compare. So they say Web 1, for example, was read only. Web 2, they claim is read and write. Web 3, they claim is read, write, and O, right? And with that, they claim that the amount of users and the amount of generated content is going to increase, right, significantly. So this is one of the arguments of what's going to happen once some of these technologies get implemented. So let me move on. Here's something that I took from a company called Messari, which I think you should check as well, that compares Web 2 protocols with Web 3. Again, right? This is not simply Roblox and Fortnite, guys. There's like a lot of stuff happening behind this, and there's a bunch of new technologies, as you can see here, that may or may not challenge, right? I personally have used ENS, right? If you want to create your NFT and ETH and get your own domain, I use ENS. It costs quite a bit of money because of the gas fees, but I read the actual technical spec for DNS, and it's something interesting. Does that mean it's going to replace DNS or domain name systems? I'm not sure. I don't think so, to be honest, but it's there, right? We don't know if one of these things either by luck, either by opportunity, or either by somebody creates a product based on these things, ends up breaking through and taking over, which is usually what happens, right? So you can see we are talking about hosting, file hosting, streaming, processing, and infrastructure in a few words. So I suggest you also check these companies as well. And with that, I'm gonna get with the technical threads, right? I'm not going to, this is not gonna be like, okay, this is a demo of a hack. I'm gonna go over some of the technical threads that I have found with technologies that are related to the metaverse and Web3. And then basically down the road, maybe we can break it down. Like for example, smart contracts. The smart contracts have been hacked quite a bit. And if you actually, I was trying, honestly, I was trying to do a demo of hacking a smart contract. And when I went to type a CVE, there were so many of them that I said, why would I even demo this? There's probably 100 plus, to be honest, CVEs. These are CVEs. This is not, some obscure crypto. Oh, nobody knows about this. These are public CVEs from smart contract derived from mainly Ethereum blockchain, which is, when you hear a smart contract, you have to remember ERC20. That's where it comes from. So another of the big problems that you have with these technologies, especially with blockchain related, is that many of them use what is called now off-chain stacks in order to make on-chain happen. So for example, because, okay, Bitcoin, I think is 5 transactions per second, I believe. Ethereum, I think is 4 or 15 per second. This is obviously not scalable. As you add and add data to this chains, the transaction fees become more expensive. That's why it's happening to Bitcoin. Sort of happening right now with those gas fees. The computing fees are becoming obnoxious, and they're a threat actually to this technology, in my opinion. So what happens sometimes is they sort of use what they call off-chain. What is off-chain? Things that are not centralized at the blockchain, for example. So like IBM says right there, I took this from IBM. It says is non-transactional data that is too large to be stored in the blockchain, right? So you have things such as MongoDB, MySQL or Redis. So because they use that, and I'm going to show you an example of a recent hack, because of that, you can attack off-chain to then modify on-chain, which is exactly what happened to OpenSea. So that's one example. These technologies are vulnerable and can be attacked again to get foothold on on-chain technologies. Also, you can have things that affect metaverse related technologies. What you see right there is Log4j, right? This is the Log4j on Microsoft Minecraft, right? Minecraft is also part or will be a technology that can be considered also a metaverse, right? Or you can attack another very common attack vector is trading platforms. So my example of that is what happened recently with, I believe since I did this, there were a couple more trading platforms that were affected as well. So here's a another example. If you go to YouTube and you type technical or hack Roblox, then they show you, right? In many of these things just have GUIs. You download a GUI and say, oh, I want to be immortal. Oh, I want to kick this guy out. And you may say, but this is kids play. Okay, it's kids play, but what happens when hacks like this are applied to somebody that's working in a realm, right? What happens when they steal your avatar? I want you to start thinking about it. What happens when they take your money? your currency, whatever it is in the realm, right? Or they steal your identity. What if you had to, I don't know, think about it. What if in the future we had something on to go to work and they would identify us with our avatars? With some of these hacks, you can literally, in some cases, take stuff from the avatars. In some cases, you may even be able to hack them, right? So although this sounds childish and you know, it's like gamers, oh, I kick you out. Well, that's not that funny when you kick a person out of a realm, you are affecting the livelihood, right? So here's an example of a CVE, right? So I give you the example how it is outside, and here's I mean, this is NIST. Can get more serious than that. Here's what happened with OpenSea. OpenSea basically used a listing process that was based on an off-chain technology. Apparently, the attackers were able to get a hold of the listing. Remember that many times when you go into these places that work on blockchain, you can't delete it. You understand what I'm saying? Let me put this example. When I post a video on a blockchain broadcasting site, they will not be able to take it off. What they can do with off-chain technology is to shadow it, and when you look for it, you won't find it, or change the link in the backend. But somewhere that video is still there, and that's usually some of the issues when you're dealing with this type of decentralized technology. And OpenSea actually did something cool. They went and compensated some of the users that were affected by the export, right? So what happened is basically they managed by apparently attacking one of these off-chain technologies, which was a listing manager, and then they found how much they were valued, used that value, which was accepted, and then bought it for nothing and sold it for a lot. Consequently, the owners of this art lost money, but they compensated them. Okay, here's more threats, right? Crime always moves to new realms, especially if there are more opportunities. So Second Life has been known for terrorist activity. I believe there was a series, I don't remember if it was 24, where they were actually talking on the Xbox. Here's a woman that claims that she was virtually groped. I don't know, yesterday, if you saw the news, now in the metaverse, you have to be separated 4 feet, so you can't grope anybody, right? And I know these things sound crazy, right? But this is, guys, I know we're here and, you know, I'm preaching to the core. But you talk to a 12, 14-year-old, and they won't understand these things that we are looking at like, oh, that's crazy. Why would you even think that? So here's another one. This person claims that she was molested in the metaverse, right? And she says that it made it feel real. And it may actually indeed feel real. And I'm going to show you why. In a minute, I will go, and this is what will come next, is more my opinion, right? So here's some of the more threats that I, you know, came up in this research. One of them is money laundering. I don't know if you have been lately watching the crypto world. There's something new called Tornado Cash, which is untraceable, and it's apparently technically very, very sophisticated, and it has a lot of regulators and law enforcement pulling their hair because they can't figure it out. You can do laundering, what I call the centrifuge, which is basically you create a BS NFT by yourself, transfer it to fiat, pump and dump NFTs. Sometimes there's a little bit of a confusion or fungible versus non-fungible, which comes on the EIP 1155. Sometimes you can own one thing, but sometimes there are certain things that can be owned by several people. That for me is not clear yet, or maybe I can't comprehend it, but I found that confusing. And of course, some of the things that I just told you, identity theft. If you steal the avatar, you're stealing the alter ego of this person, right? You steal proceeds from online activity. It's like when you cancel an influencer, right? You cancel influencer, you take away the livelihood, right? What happens when you become this personality in the metaverse and somebody takes your Roblox, for example, or sometimes it takes a lot of experience or points in the game to get certain skills, and they take them away. So this is how I want you to see this. Not because you want to play a game, but because this sort of gaming rules may become sort of an alternate reality that we're going to have to go through in the metaverse. We were talking about the ETH gas fees. If it is too expensive to create anything, how would you sell it? So that's a threat. That's definitely a threat. It cost me a lot of money to create that ETH, right? Okay, so here's another threats that, let's look at what will happen should we continue the path and these things basically develop into mainstream technologies. We go to work, we connect, we have all these new devices that we have to invent, that we have to create, and we're connected to this whole entity. One of the things that are going to happen, in my opinion, is abuse of cheap labor. This is a movie called The Sleep Dealer. And these guys basically will go every day with some sort of a headset and operate some robots on the other side of the world that were doing hard work, right? Inequality, right? What we're seeing here is the current. I took this from a gentleman named Scott Gallo, and what he did here is show the actually own accounts in the NFT market, and own accounts in Bitcoin. Okay. So as you can see, does that look equal to you? I don't know. Somebody needs to mute itself.
That's in the,
Okay, it did. Okay. So here's another threat, right? Inequality. This is happening already. It's not a projection. This is right now. Move forward. Mental illness, right? We're already experiencing some of this, right? Overuse, I took this from Psychology Today, by the way. Overuse of digital technology is associated with many mental health issues. Somatic symptoms, depression, psychoticism, paranoid ideation, and serious mental illness. This is happening right now, right? So we're talking about Instagram, we're talking about social media. We're not yet in the full-blown metaverse, right? And with that, I wanted to bring up certain things that I believe, right? Again, this is my opinion, I may be wrong. Certain things we're gonna have to create in order to make this feasible. And at the end, what we want is kinesthesia. Kinesthesia is the ability of myself, or knowing that I'm moving, that I have limbs, that I'm here, right? In order to do that, we need in my opinion, three elements. We need sensory input. The sensory input will be some sort of a headset, some sort of a suit, or other senses will be incorporated. Smell, touch, taste, right? So this is something that we still have to figure out. We need connectivity. We need things that we wear and connect to the internet and send us feedback, send us kinetic feedback. So when I touch something, I touch it and I feel like I'm touching it. Again, it's kinesthesia. We need kinesthesia in cyber. And in order to do that, we need to create new technology. Like, for example, this. Some of you may have watched it. It's super funny, right? And this looks silly, right? But it's an example. This is an example of things we're going to have to come up in order to give you the entire experience inside the metaverse, right? I suggest you watch the series. It's pretty funny, super funny. And this is a sex suit, right? Look at that. That's the least sexy ever you would see. But there is actually a scene where this person goes into a store and they showed us, right? But what this is doing is sending you feedback everywhere in your body. And besides that, it's connecting you to a virtual world where you're gonna interact with somebody.
Rent it.
What?
You can rent it.
Oh, yeah, well, they show when they're washing them, yeah. Yeah, nasty. Okay, so here's one of the problems that I see with this, right? When you have kinesthesia, right? It's not that you just have kinesthesia. There's also perception, right? I speak, I hear, I touch, something reacts, I interact with people. So there will be cognition. There will be some cognition process that you're gonna have to form inside that world. And so I created this graph. What I call this is something I made up called the ego. Where the ego for me is that problem that we're gonna have where we have a real life me and an alter ego on the metaverse, right? And if you read to the right, I want you to read what this lady says. She says, right, in some capacity, my physiological and psychological response was as though it happened in reality. And we're not having people wearing suits yet, right? So this is an issue. This is going to happen, right? I found this afterwards, by the way. I sort of found this afterwards. So you have an issue where you have two worlds, and you have your ego, if we talk in a Freudian terms, and then you have an alter ego in the metaverse. So eventually this will bring some sort of an issue. Here's another example. We have an schizoid. Schizo means torn apart, reality. So for example, this is an example, for example. You can be weak physically, or you can have a physical handicap, and in the metaverse, you can fly, you can have super stamina level, or you can gain anything by purchasing or gaming experience. You can live in a small home, but you can have a mansion in the metaverse, and it will feel like you have it, right? If we can achieve the kinesthesia and cognition in it, you will feel like you can walk for square miles of terrain, of land, which by the way is for sale already in the central land. So another example, you need to drive, walk, take public transportation. In metaverse, you can be literally anywhere. In reality, you're limited by your circadian rhythms. You have to go to bed. You have to go to the bathroom. You have to eat. In the metaverse, you'll be unlimited. Not sure if you're catching what I'm trying to tell you, right? This interaction, this immersion in this new world will bring this disparities. And what I show you right here, right, is a example of Black Mirror when this person gets mad at these people and she blocks them. See that? That's how they look. She blocks them. She said, I don't want to talk to you. So I suggest you see White Christmas when they decide to block everybody. So imagine I'm here. I don't want to see half of you. They look like that. And they sound like they're trying to talk to you, but you can't. So this type of things will happen at one point. So think about this. If you spend more time in metaverse than physical world, you had a better body, you can fly, you have a mansion, what would you care about your physical home? What would you care where you live? Right?
Ready Player One. Next
Ready Player One. There you go. I was going to say that.
Matrix battery.
Exactly. Ready Player One. You live in a container, but you have everything you want in that world. So what happens when people feel that I can be better in online instead of IRL? In my opinion, this is annihilation. Annihilation basically is the obscuring or dimming of awareness or mental faculties. And to show it to you, this is already happening. We have a major company that has to tweet that they can't eat their product. Huh? It says right there, it says, it's for doing laundry, don't eat it, right? We have a person that says, oh no, I want to have horns in real life. I'm going to wear them. Hey, that's fine. As long as you are functional and know what your reality ends and your gaming starts, I'm fine. Or the tragedy. This person did a challenge of holding their breath and died. or somebody driving from one place to the other saying that they're torturing children and they're armed, right? So we're already having this sort of issues with the effects of this technology. This is some of the things that I truly worry, because if we're having these type of things now, imagine when you have somebody that says, you know what, I'm just gonna spend my day connected.
No mention of ivermectin.
Well, there you go. I mean, there's more stuff that I can throw in there. I was gonna put some Q stuff, but I said no. Right? So with that,
Crazy enough.
right. Right? So this is not me speculating. This is already happening. Right? And like I said yesterday, they were saying that they're gonna force you to be 4 feet away in the metaverse. The metaverse is virtual.
Yeah.
How do you measure 4 feet in the metaverse, right? You see, now we're going back and forth. And that's what, in my opinion, there's a huge risk, right? So I wanted to put this just as a reference. The Russians are looking at this as well. And they say something that, in my opinion, is true. The importance of regardless, right? Norms and when you are with an avatar, right? Well, how are we going to regulate this? There are many questions that are not yet answered. But if we have people already eating detergent, right? All right. So this is another thing we have to consider. What I showed you is in a scenario where you have to have some sort of a functional body, right? So you have to willingly put that stuff on, connect. You may not have to at one point. I'm not saying Elon is for this, but definitely Elon is doing things that all you have to do is a Wi-Fi card, dude.
Actually, I just saw an article the other day that most of the monkeys that the animals that they put the neural
I know.
passed away.
I know that's terrible, by the way. But if this succeeds, right, and you add a Wi-Fi card to it, or whatever protocol that is, then you're connected, right? Don't need to buy the whatever Oculus or whatever, right? So be on the lookout for new tech that may allow the joining of the so-called metaverse even more aggressively. So in closing, I had to bring this up, right? That is the architect. For those of you who don't know, the architect was made in reference to Bin Cerf, the creator of the internet. So Google Bin Cerf, it looks a lot like the architect. And then the analyst, which is the last guy. The reason why I put this is because that's how it looks in the matrix. And what is the left is the humans connected, right? And I wanted to close this with this reference, right? The adoption will depend on the usability and attractiveness of this technology for people who join it or use it. Economic models are still certain. We don't know if this is going to work or not. We do know they're going to pour a crap ton of money on this. None of this seems to be pointing to fixing current challenges with social media platform. If anything, it will enhance them. There is a risk of furthering inequality, tech manipulation, and subjugation of non-tech uninformed class. I'm sorry, I don't want to sound snobby, but the people that are not able to learn and understand technology are likely to be exploited. That's probably what's going to happen. A lot of this tech will take decades to develop and is still improving. By no means this will enhance privacy, and it's neither decentralized. I don't believe it's decentralized. I suggest you to read Moxie's commentary on Web3. When we use things such as augmented reality, and we want, for example, a certain technology to say, oh, this is my room. Well, there will need to be some scanner, right? That gets your room, that scans it, that sees that you are, I don't know, taking pills for Tums, and then he presents you an advertisement of a psychiatrist. You understand what I'm saying? All this will be used. This will be used to be profitable, right? To make profit. And in my opinion, most of this stuff is an MVP. It's a minimal viable product. There is potential in it, but it's not there. But the ingredients are there. And with that, I wanted to leave you with this. My question is, do we really need this? Even though most of us, I think if this happens, we'll work on it. We'll have to break on it. We'll have to work, secure it. My question at the end is, okay, I think the amount of risks that this brings to the users is bigger than the benefit. So unless you can prove me wrong on that, I still, the word is not yet there. Even though I may end up working, or you, and we'll make a crap ton of money, but that doesn't mean this thing's gonna do well, right? And like I said before in my introduction, I had nothing against the people that are behind these things. What I'm worried is that the effects and the use that this is gonna, I guess, drive once people are exposed to this 24/7. And that's it for me.
Any questions? If you have any questions on GoToMeeting, if you're on the GoToMeeting, go ahead and post them on there. We'll go ahead and review them. If you have any questions on Discord, I posted a thread in our events channel for questions. And then we're gonna take a 4-minute break for the setup for the next presentation, which is
Self-driving cars 101.
self-driving cars one. There's an extra slice of pizza if anyone wants it.
All right, where's Helix?
Pizza.
Oh.
Hey, Rod, couldn't find the thread inside of the events page, but I went to the HackMiami week on 2 weeks ago, right? Which was the event where they sponsored 20 different like mansions, and that developers put them in the same house, and in 5 days they had to come up with an application. Most of it was centralized on Web3 and decentralized applications, and that's the first time that I was able to see what's actually going on, right? In regards to all these brand new applications, what's Web3, which still hasn't been fully defined. It looks like the space is pretty much broken up into 3 genres: the ownership of digital assets, decentralized, and then something that has to do within blockchain technology. With that said, I do believe that we are going to end up in the same place where this is where the web is going towards, right? And us in the security sphere, there's so much potential, specifically from what you just outlined. In OpenSea, there's cross-site scripting. The differences between the exchange where you're exchanging one crypto into another, that's completely insanely vulnerable right now. Another exchange just lost 300 million in crypto that they had to replace. So I think it's really beneficial for us in the security space to go to these types of events and actually speak with those developers that are going to be building these brand new applications, because everybody's super hungry looking for talent, right? And all this talent just looks at a platform, picks a language, and just believes that the language is going to be taking care of security. I've spoken to developer after developer after developer, and when you ask them about security, they're like, "Oh no, I don't have to worry about security. This platform handles it for me."
So he went
Pretty
to
cool, Francisco.
he went to the CES. CES? Yeah. So he went to CES and he saw, what was it called?
So basically, they're using an ultrasound with Magically to control the This is a preview to the Autopilot
Oh, check it out.
Yeah, so we're literally, I'm feeling the controls because there's,
He's feeling the control.
yeah, I'm feeling a
Exactly.
ultrasound.
There you go.
And I'm looking at the controls.
Can
So
you
rather-
show this to the meeting?
Yeah, they're seeing it right now.
Oh, excellent.
You can, there's sound too, what I'm doing. It's
Yeah,
really-
please.
Music, yeah.
So that's interacting with. And in the music menu, there's interacting with right now. I'm back up over so you can see that.
It's awesome.
So if you reach out, you kind of swipe left and right on those music elements. You should see some haptics. And it's saying that's our hand tracking the haptics application.
Wow, so that you're actually
See buttons down below. You can look at the music.
that's ultra deep.
See, you can actually touch that slider and move the slider. So if you actually touch that display and move it, the flash is on there. Yeah. The option is actually working and should be following the left and right as we touch that display. Ready?
You know, like how Tesla, self-driving, that can be like a token gated NFT, where like you can upgrade your car or upgrade your music based upon what NFTs you have. I mean, they didn't do that there, but obviously they should
Right.
talk.
Of course, yeah, we're gonna have to come up with that stuff. We have to.
So that was built in Unreal Engine.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Unreal Engine is from the Fortnite people, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so I host the stuff with Unreal Engine.
Oh, you do? That's awesome, man.
Yeah, no, it's-
Cool, man.
That's because everybody would vote yes to that.
Alrighty.
Where's our presenter?
Okay.
But we did, using Unity, we used video games to like try to train these like the autonomous things.
Uh-huh.
So like using like kind of like a Mario Kart type thing.
Uh-huh.
So you basically Unity has like their own AI autonomous agents. And you can train them using video games. They're doing different things. In that case, they did FAU lifestyle and trained their go-kart using images.
That's pretty awesome. You think you can give us a demo of that here? Or?
I wish you guys were here from
Oh, okay.
on GoToMeeting and Discord. We had pizza over here.
Order something, yeah. I want people to see that, man.
That's right.
Oh. Alright. Just a few more minutes.
Howdy. I did not expect this many people. I think it's like, yeah, post-COVID. Ironically,
Alright, man, we got full house.
Oh, we got four.
Full house.
Alright,
All right.
so we have our next presenter ready. So
Is everybody else ready?
we're all ready. Reverend.
Yes. Hello, everyone. This will be Autonomous Vehicles 101 with my experience with a self-ish driving vehicle.
Round of applause for Mark.
All right. That's a little bit delayed.
Who is this guy?
Yes.
Looks famous.
Oh, maybe I am, maybe I'm not. I'm not sure.
Right.
Jeremy James said that.
All right. Just know me as the Reverend Helix. Currently, I'm working over at ACAMS as a principal software engineer doing money laundering detection stuff. Formerly a principal software engineer at a company that won't be named. Formerly of HackMiami / Prolexic and Data Realm.
Well, if you guys join the talk, can you please mute? I think that's you.
I did.
And as seen on or at, well, I've been around HackMiami, DEF CON, Meet BSD, Euro BSD, and be found at mark-lapointe.com.
Watching it.
So my previous vehicle, my kind of sort of excuse, a 2014 Volkswagen CC that ended up being a disappointment. It was a great car till it wasn't. Average daily fuel cost was about $5. Had it for about over 6 years, and the last 6 months of ownership, oh boy, almost $20,000 went into it. I'm so glad I bought that extended warranty where I had $100 deductible. One of the repair bills was over $7 grand. Then the warranty expired and I got hit with one of the full bills. Thankfully, it was only like a $500 thing. Traded in at 58,666 miles. Highlighted the 666 for a reason. You know, when, for the last 6 months of ownership, it's in the shop for half the fucking time. I even had a friend of mine, an old friend of mine from high school, from Canada, fed him my VIN, and he was able to see everything. And he told me straight up that that particular year was very hit and miss. Mine was clearly miss. And I already, before I got rid of it, I already ordered the Cybertruck. And I was hoping this vehicle was going to last till I got that, but nope.
Oh, so you ordered a Cybertruck?
I ordered the Cybertruck first, and then too many issues. And I tried to go into Tesla saying, hey, what can we do to ride into the Cybertruck? And ultimately they're like, Elon's kind of sort of this, but nothing official, nothing concrete. So we have no clue. And here we are at the beginning of 2022 when they were supposed to already be rolling off the line.
That's delayed.
Yeah, like I'll be glad to even get my email saying, hey, your Cybertrucks, we're ready to do something about that next year. So I got a nice new Model 3, 2020, just before they decided to put the USB-Cs in. So I got all the regular ones. So I got a standard range plus. It's a rear wheel drive. So all the single motor vehicles from Tesla are going to be rear wheel drive. Supposedly has a range of 250 miles. Top speed of 240. Currently I've put on over 27,000 miles. Warranty at this time was pretty decent. 4-year bumper to bumper. And 8 years on the powertrain, which is the engine, and the battery. So I don't have any battery consumption. No. I don't have to pay to replace the battery, at least.
I've heard you pretty much got to replace the car if the battery goes bad.
It depends on which chassis they went with the model year.
Oh.
I know they're going to put some batteries built into the frame, which is going to be interesting when they need to be replaced. Hopefully they've left themselves some room. So I'm going to start off with some basics. I'm not going to get into like every little feature or detail, but just enough to get you into some of the headspace here. So, because it all kind of builds up. So looking around the car, let's go to the front. Keep my emergency stuff in here. It's not that big, and keeps the trunk nice and clean for bigger things. There is a little kit that's not really in this picture because I just pulled this from the web. There is for the tow hook that's up front. So there's the trunk. Nothing all that spectacular, but oh look, we got a little secret trunk too. So
No spare tire.
no spare tire. Software updates. The vehicle has actually gotten better with age. More functions, more features, better everything. Updates are handed out on pretty much on a bin basis. So if Release X is released today, you can't just grab it like you can like with your iPhone or Android. So it may take 2 weeks for the push notification to be actually sent to your vehicle. When I got it, I had a 6-month-old release when I first got it, and it took about a month to start for all the updates to start rolling in and to get current. And you know, whenever I hear that there's an update, it's usually like at least a few days to like a week before I see a notice on my vehicle. There is a daily power draw, just because the car needs to maintain the battery temperature. You know, make sure that it's all nice. So the internal heating and cooling system for the battery can drain the battery significantly. It's not like it's going to drain to 0 in a day, but you will definitely see anywhere from 5 to 10% from sitting. But yeah, I've experienced, like, you know, especially in the summer, vehicle parked out at a coffee shop. I was there for 5 hours, and when I came back to my vehicle, it was 10% less.
But that would be if it's like fully full, the appreciation would be much higher versus if it's lower, right?
I haven't really measured it out, but it's just it's kind of like I'm kind of sort of blind to it. I kind of account for it. But yeah, like I'd say probably this place I rolled into probably about 80%, and when I went back to the car, it was at 70.
And then the charging is the same, right? It charges slower as you get closer to being 100%.
Yes, yes, because the battery gets hot, and I'm going to cover that in a bit. Car will turn off features when it gets to 20%. Like there is the freaking security feature, various security features that turn that if anybody walks up to your car, it'll record them. So like if somebody tried to key or do any damage or whatever, you got a record of it. That sentry mode would turn off, and some of the management would also turn off in order to try to preserve, you know, make sure when you get to the vehicle, you can actually get in and hopefully make somewhere to charge. If you're gone for any more than a few days, make sure that the vehicle is plugged in. I once took a flight, it was just a couple days, got to the airport with probably roughly 80% battery, and by the time I got back a few days later, it was at 40. So if you leave the vehicle for any extended period of time, keep it plugged in. It will power all the cells at the same time, so it will return energy, and then just make sure everything's nice and healthy. Charging. There'll be levels, because I'm sure you've heard, like, there's level 1. Oh yeah, the battery health. Do not let the vehicle get below 20. Charge over 9% unless on a trip, and the energy will be used immediately. Keeping the battery between 20 and 80 should make I've heard, make the battery last 20 years. So take that with a grain of salt. Expect a 1 to 2% drop every year. I haven't really noticed anything significant, and I'm almost 2 years in. Do not always use a supercharger. When you're on a trip, yeah, use it. But if you're at home, if you have the ability, lower and slower is healthier for the battery. Supercharging can generate a lot of heat, thus can kill by baking the battery. Oh wait, it gets quite hot here. I'm glad I got that 8-year warranty. So the levels. So I'm sure you guys have heard, you may have heard about like level 1, level 2, level 3 charging. Level 1 is essentially just your house outlet. Can charge my car in about 2 or 3 days on it, quote unquote. Yeah, it's not great. Very slow charge, and not very useful. Level 2 is 208 to 240 volts, and this is all. These two are level 1 and level 2 are AC. So level 2 has a little bit of a wiggle for what the voltages are. Can usually charge the car in about 4 or 5 hours on empty. Level 3, which operates at 480 volts, at least the superchargers do. It's DC. There's also a couple other level 3s, Chatamo or Charge to Move, and the CCS port. And, in 20 to 45 minutes, the car's full. The car's charged. So, speaking of superchargers, how do you find them? Well, in a Tesla, you just put in where you're going, and or just go into the little mode and say with all the superchargers and just point to one and it'll tell you where to go. So it's got it all on the in-dash system essentially. So sometimes it does a lot of estimating, and sometimes those estimates are not really all that good, especially on a trip. So Supercharging is the fastest and most economical paid charging provider. They do come in different sizes, 150 and 200 kilowatt. So that can dictate how fast you actually charge. Teslas are identified when plugged in. Requires a CCM file, usually done at the time of order when you put down the deposit, or you can change it within the website, and it'll just automatically charge from that card. Most of these places for the Teslas, you have to back into the charging stalls. There are some stations that have chargers situated for when you need to pull in. There are also vehicles that have been banned from using the network. Vehicles have been repaired and have not paid the Tesla taxes. So Tesla hadn't looked at it, and so they'll just grab the ID and just say, no, you're screwed. We're not letting you charge. There are idle fees. Occasionally, if I'm like at a Wawa or whatever, or at a station, and I'm going to realize I'm going to take a little bit longer. So instead of being charged an idle fee, I just go to the app and tell it to charge even higher. And if I'm traveling, going past 90, I'm good to go anyway because I'm using the energy immediately. Some locations when you pull in will tell you that you're only allowed to charge to 80%. Yeah, screw that. You can just still slide it over and you can go.
What's the reasoning for that though? Just time?
High volume areas.
So for other drivers.
So that you're not taking up
It's more of a
so
request.
you're not taking up the spot.
Right.
Not trying-
Yeah, because they're trying to serve more people, because let's face it, there's not a supercharger around every corner. Like I can, for a regular gas vehicle, I can just go pretty much anywhere, right? They got what, 100 freaking gas stations up and down the street right here alone. So it's more of a request. You pull in, it'll warn you, it'll set your charge limit to 80, but you can just go right into the app and override. Tesla is testing non-Tesla vehicle charging in the EU at select locations. Saw from the video that requires one to download the Tesla app, register the payment, and identify the stall that you're at. This may cause some issues at heavily used charging stations because charging ports are not always on the same side of the vehicle. Thus, a car may need to take up effectively 2 spots in order to do it to its short cable. Because the charge port's on the driver's side, and some vehicles have it on the passenger side. Not so big of a deal for, say, like I think the Leaf that has it like right in the front. But especially in the video I saw demonstrating the European non-Tesla charging, the guy had his charge port on the passenger side. How to identify circuits at a supercharger? This is kind of important because each stall will have an identifying tag on its base. So you can see right there, we got 2B and like 2A or whatever. So 2 is the circuit number, and B is the letter is the port. So there's 3. So ultimately, different. So really, when you pull in and when you're charging, and there's a bunch of people there, you try to find a set that and only take one, because it's actually kind of halves the draw. You share the circuit and you don't charge as fast. So Wawa has a bunch of superchargers. You guys already know about them. spoke to a manager a while back. I was getting something inside waiting. Get the impression they don't get that much from, they don't generate much revenue from them. But they seem to hope that if the more people there hanging around for about a half hour, they're going to come into the store and buy something.
Right, but when you pay with the app, right?
Actually, when I walk up,
Is that my wallet or the Tesla?
no, this is Tesla Supercharger. Yeah, so you can see the side of it, and I just got the charged at Wawa. But yeah, I don't have to do anything to charge a supercharger aside from make sure my credit card has the room for the charge. That's my, because I walk up, just plug it in, it detects the vehicle, it talks over the network, blah, 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 and it knows whether the charging station's up or down or whatever, and just automatically. So once it realizes who's my car and goes to my account and sees that my payment info, and it just starts charging.
Did you cover pricing for this? Yeah, what's the price of that?
It varies from state to state, and I think I get into that a little bit later. But to start, like at some areas it's by time, other areas it's by kilowatts. So
Pay per charge.
yeah, it's like I like later on in the presentation I do mention like driving up through from Florida to Georgia to South Carolina and to North Carolina. It was like a night and day difference. I'd be charged, say, $12 here for a charge, and then get an equivalent charge in South Carolina and be charged $6. So another nice place, kind of Wawa-esque, open 24 hours, decent restrooms. That's kind of important. And just like Wawa, many made to order items. So it's another Wawa-esque like thing. So not bad. Most superchargers, they seem to have a Waffle House nearby. Like from here all the way through Ohio, yeah, like to see a Waffle House with just look down the road and boom, there's a Waffle House. This one was right next to, so I'm standing right, the superchargers are right behind me in this picture. So like this one is Hardyville, South Carolina. First one in South Carolina that I hit. Not all supercharging locations are equal. Some superchargers are literally stuffed in there wherever somebody's willing to put one. Many are in parking lots at malls, airports, and hotels. A supercharging location on the map may say it has restrooms, restaurants, and other amenities. Well, the restaurants may not be 24 hours, and restrooms may be only available for customers. And if it's the restrooms and it's something you don't particularly care for, well, figure it out. Some supercharging locations actually charge for parking. So skip Savannah, Georgia Airport if possible. It's only $150, but an annoying $1 extra for parking. No nearby restroom or restaurant. Home charging, cheapest way. So they sold the when I got it, they sold the Tesla home charger for $500, and I was actually able to get an electrician to install it for $300 to make sure they do it all right. So $800 in total. Some places are charging more than $1,000 just for the install. Most days it only cost me about $1 to recharge my vehicle with my current driving habits. And yet again, it's just best to leave the vehicle plugged in at all times so that it can cycle the batteries and do other fun stuff. On a recent update, like last week or 2 weeks ago, Tesla actually put in some charging statistics where I was actually able to select FPL, and it'll grab the current price for like a kilowatt hour, and roughly I'm $40 a month to drive around my vehicle.
How many miles per month though?
I had over 27, I put on over 27,000 miles,
In a year?
since I owned it.
So what?
No, but how,
Uh,
what's your monthly mileage?
Right.
My monthly mileage, I'm not even sure.
1,000 is the average. 1,000
Right.
miles.
You know.
So you do it.
Above average, below average.
I'm, well, probably a bit below average because I'm working from home. So
How long ago did you buy it?
I've had, it's almost been 2 years.
So, yeah, it's
Oh, picking up
1,000.
my, just, for me,
77,
about a month, it's.
Yeah, well, I'm
working from
here,
home
even though it
and
might be
picking up my
difficult
kids from
to
the school
see.
and stuff, it's about
Uh,
$40.
on here, it's like,
Gas.
oh, shut up. Granted, I'm wondering where they pull the price from, but they estimate I would have spent $153 in this inch on it for gas.
Yeah,
That's
that's
the
all.
one, 2 times?
Not at these
Right,
prices,
that's
they're
two
like
times.
340 right now. for
Well,
regular.
Yeah, I think it says there on the bottom line, $3.
Could be a tax of probably administration to get.
I'd say it's not that great.
No, well, it's 11 cents per kilowatt hour via FPL. Either way, I'm significantly saved.
Yeah.
Like the install of the home charger has already paid for itself.
It is, but it's cheap.
Oh, that's great.
Charging at home, another thing, which I actually have right here. They used to give this with the vehicle. Thankfully, I got mine with it. So this is their charger. So here we go.
That's for the
So
wall,
this
I think?
can be either level 1 or level 2. So really just changing out
Check it out.
these adapters.
Big deal.
So
Yeah,
with level 1
yeah.
and a level 2 240 right here.
Check it out.
So
Those 240 charges faster.
yeah, 240, yeah, 240,
30 minutes.
put it this way. In the
4
documentation,
hours, 5 hours.
4 to 5 hours.
yeah,
40 minutes
put it
is,
this way, in the documentation, they say,
480.
for level 1, you'll regain 3 miles of charge, worth of charge. Just by doubling the voltage, 33 miles per hour of charge.
Right.
And then you go to the supercharger and you see its stats as it's charging, and it's saying almost 400 miles per hour per charging, which means, you're charging an hour.
So if Nikola Tesla would have won, then we would have DL at 480 already. Because it'd be DC.
I know. Yeah. It would be-
Edison.
Yeah, so it'd be nice to have a 480 at home and charge in 2 seconds. But unfortunately, the pigtail can cost, well, on the site, depending on what pigtails you need. That one's like a $30 or $40 pigtail for the 220 that I had to buy extra, or 240. But there's some, especially like Chatamo adapters that cost like $400, $600. Thankfully, I've really only needed to use this really once recently.
Is Canada 220 or 110?
Canada matches the US for the most part.
So it's 110.
Yeah,
Okay.
there's some, I understand that Canada doesn't have the backflow issues that are here. So hence, we'll talk about various solar things, but for the most part, relatively the same.
Oh, so if you're charging, if you have solar power, you don't
That's
you don't
one-
reverse the mirror, you don't reverse the meter here? I
Well-
mean, there?
Well, you know how like if for solar here, if the power goes out, you're not allowed to use your own solar power. You have
Yeah,
to,
because you're back feeding into the grid and you can cause an electrical shock.
yeah, and apparently Canada changed its code or was doing something a little bit different, that backfeed doesn't happen. Because I was actually talking to a relative of mine who's going to become an electrician, getting involved in Ontario Hydro, and also getting versed on the American electrical grid, just in case a natural disaster happens and everybody gets called down here. So must-have apps. So these are all on iOS, Android, and they have their own function standalone websites. A better route planner allows you to plan your route with not just Tesla superchargers, but other third-party superchargers, chargers in general. And plug share is very useful, just by like, you open it up and you can see like everybody that, like, there's people offering free to go into their driveway and charge. So if I wanted to, I could put myself up on there and say, hey, you can come and charge at my place for free or something, or state $5 or whatever. I usually just look for places that are free. So my oh shit kit, my emergency stuff. Keep it in my trunk. I have the Tesla portable charger, got 100 feet of outdoor extension cord, my electric tire pump, windshield washer fluid, some small screwdrivers and pliers. Note the asterisks. My snow scraper, it's still good. I brought it with me when I moved from up north, and I still have it. In fact, for those of you who haven't seen one.
I am familiar with it. They're pretty awesome.
What is that thing?
Oh, now that you scratch your back with it.
Sorry, I can't give a demo on how to use this. No ice.
That was the bathroom.
We also, do you think the gauge of the extension cord should be covered? Because if you're putting a lot of current through that, it's gonna get really hot, right?
Well, go back over here. Yeah, this.
They had an orange one. That
Well, if it's only 120,
this is a really thick gauge.
Yeah, so this
it's
is fine. But like for that extension cable, it's a 120, 110.
So you're hoping you don't want to use the
I
240 on
really
that.
don't want to use any of this, but I have it just in case. And
You ever tried like going in a hotel, blowing it in the room and jumping into the car?
I haven't been in a hotel that,
Where you want to leave the windows open that much?
Well, you just have to choose the first floor. You see those American hotels that are like, at least in Florida?
yeah,
Just
I
park it right
haven't,
there.
I haven't been in a hotel in Florida quite a while. And haven't had the luxury of choosing first floor. So third-party chargers. So pretty much, at least in my world, popular ports for charging. So we got our Tesla one. And then we got this J1772. Those seem to be everywhere. Not so popular are the Chatamos, the NEMAs, 1450s. Well, you don't really want to do wall charging. And then there's that CSS one. And then there's Tesla's old Roadster one, which requires an adapter.
What do you mean you don't want to do wall charging?
Well, you really want to wait 10 hours for you to get,
That's what it takes.
yeah.
Well, it's a hotel, a little bit.
Well,
It's not gonna
sometimes
be
you're,
charged for the next morning. It takes 2 days to charge
2
it,
days.
fully charge it.
Well, I'm saying it's
See,
in case of emergency.
yeah,
got
you want
lost
to charge
or
up just enough to get to the next supercharger.
enough?
Yeah.
Okay.
So like, I kid you not, like I've left mine in for overnight and it's like, oh, look, I got 10%. Yeah.
Not getting home.
So popular, okay, let's starting off with the Tesla. So I've already shown you my kit. Locks into the place when you plug it in. It can't easily remove it. People have supposedly tried kicking it to try to dislodge it, to no avail. Normally you just push the button on top of it to unlock it. And if you press it 10 times, you get some pretty colors right next to the charge port. One of their Easter eggs. Yeah, man. So J1772, level 2. So it's a circular one, you know, it's a little adapter I can use to plug into my Tesla, which I have in my.
You have all of them?
I got that, and I do have that changer right there, and I keep it in my glove box, just so when I roll up.
So you don't have the Black Mirror
Yeah, issue.
Yeah, okay.
I also have a Karen ring, essentially, affectionately called, because the J1772s can be easily removed while you're charging. So if some asshole wants to come around and just jack your charge, they can. So you put this on, you slide it in, and it locks up that little clip. So like it's a, you see it might be a buttonish there, but to unlock it, so it keeps
Does
that.
that actually happen in the community?
I've heard
Like
people-
people will come and pull
that's
it
the
out?
entire reason why this thing exists. Somebody
And
got.
what's it, and then how do you unplug, take it out?
You tell the car to unlock the port, you just pull it out, slide it all off.
Oh, the car, okay.
But these people are just junking it, right?
Yeah, just because with this adapter, there's nothing to really lock it into place. There's like secure it.
Right.
So you see that little slit right there at the end. There's actually something in the Tesla charge port that puts it, that holds it in place. Free third-party charging, as again, these will help you find them. I have yet to use paid third-party, but supposedly there's quite a bit. So these ones seem to be fairly popular. ChargePoint, especially EVgo. I think there's a ChargePoint place not too far away from my house that I've never actually used. So Blink, Electrify America, Flow, and Petro Canada started rolling some out, although that was only useful around the Toronto and Ottawa area. Now let's actually get into what stuff you guys actually care about. Now that we've given you a brief insight into the basics of operating the vehicle. To activate autopilot while the vehicle's in drive, press the shifter down twice. Four times for cowbell. Make sure that you see that blue symbol on your screen on the dash, because if you don't, you might be a little upset later on. Will not activate if you're in the middle of an intersection, can't discover the lines on the road, cameras are blocked or not functioning, and if the sensors are blocked or not functioning.
Well, if it's knowing, camera will be blocked. It's
Gotta
raining.
get to that. So as you can see right there in the middle of the screen, even though this layout has changed recently a bit, so the car's in autopilot, you see two lines, those two blue lines, that means the car is in autopilot.
Something like that.
So lines on the road are important and problematic. The camera needs to see the lines like humans do. Not all lines are symmetrical. Not all straight throughs are actually straight. I've had my vehicle try to jump lanes quite a few times, or I freak out, and it warns me that I need to immediately take over. So like going west on Oakland Park, there's a problem just before the I-95 on-ramp to the south lanes, because you're in the lane, right? The lines are like this across the road, they're like this, and the vehicle's going straight. And
Days ago, yeah, I drove there and the same thing confused me. I don't have it, like, me as a person confused what you're talking about.
Yeah, so it's even though a human would just see the lines and not think twice about it and just heck, even before that, the two gas stations that are on the corners there, their sign for the prices of their gas match the frickin' street lights. So up until about 6-8 months ago, every time I was passing through there, my car would freak out because it didn't know what the hell to do, because it was picking up the gas station signs and going, what the hell is this? Let's see. Also on Glades, I've in Boca, just off 95. Yeah, my car always jumps a lane. In conclusion, all lane markings need to be checked, corrected, and possible reconstruction required. Actually, if anything, one crazy thought I've had is like, why don't we just put in some read-only RFID tags in the freaking roads and have the vehicles pick that up, and that way, and maybe even put some information of what's actually available in that lane.
Is that-
Lane,
There's different versions of Autopilot, or all versions have that same?
well, there's autopilot and auto navigation on as well as full self-drive. So I don't have FSD. I get in the 90s because Tesla's doing a little beauty contest to make sure you're all safe and whatnot. And then some crazy fuck runs in front of me and I have to hit the brakes hard and my score drops dramatically. Lane straddle. If the lane is wider than normal, the vehicle will always want to center itself.
So it's like you need to gain points to get
Oh, yeah.
full FFC.
Yeah, I have to get up to 100%. And let's see here. So where am I at today? So I go to my safety score, beta, and I'm at 92 today.
Really?
So if I have to turn aggressively, oh wait, I'm not doing anything aggressive, but it thinks I'm doing something aggressive. No, it's just normal driving for this area. Hard braking, somebody gets in front of me, I get stopped. But my collision warnings, unsafe following, all that other stuff, I'm all good. But
So if you get to 100%, you could do.
I
full
may
self-
get full self-drive. I may get entered into the beta.
Oh, okay.
It's a little beauty contest thing.
Oh, wow.
So, okay, lane is wider than normal, the vehicle will always want to center itself. So like if you happen to be in a lane that's part of a merge lane sequence or merging onto a highway, it will try and just center itself and, look really weird, feel really weird. The visualization on screen can flicker when it's trying to figure out where the lanes actually are, if things are iffy. Mislabeled or dirty markers that haven't been fully removed can cause issues because the cameras will pick it up and it thinks it's something authoritative. So like if you're in the leftmost lane where there can be a left turn and there's a bunch of lines to guide, even though you want to go straight, all those, it can make the vehicle veer off to the left as thinking that it wants to make that lane change or to make that turn. And that can be problematic, especially if you're going to leave it on common traffic. Train tracks. Just drive over them manually. Just drive over them manually. Heck, even when approaching them, just go manual. The vehicle doesn't slow down at all. That causes quite a bit of discomfort. Not all train tracks are an issue, but most seem to be, because I came across a couple sets that I can leave my my autopilot on, just because I was in a different area and the bindings for the road were a little bit different. But that's one spot far away from here, not around here. Yes, and all those lines. So we got the 3-box lines coming up to the railroad tracks, and it's kind of a gamble. Which one will it stop at?
Right in the middle of it.
Yeah, so it's like, does it stop at the first one? Does it stop at in the middle, or does it stop at the end? And I've had the vehicle just slam the brakes up for the first one, unless there's a vehicle in front of it and it kind of just, plays follow the leader.
Also, some train tracks and country roads don't have the barricades.
Oh, yeah, no, and that's actually the ones that were okay were that. But yeah, there's.
So if there's like an oncoming train,
Mhm.
it's not going to see it.
Yeah.
Race.
Getting through intersections.
That's why you need the flag.
Ludicrous.
Yeah.
No flag.
Ludicrous ready to send a train. Getting through intersections. While on autopilot, the vehicle will detect stop signs, red lights, blinking lights, and will stop. And it can be annoying because the blinking yellow doesn't mean stop. You have to hit the accelerator, power through, or turn it off the autopilot. and otherwise the vehicle will complain. And for those that may not be aware, blinking yellow doesn't mean stop, it just means caution. Or go faster, yeah, well, that's this area. If you get to an intersection and there's a vehicle in front of you, moving, as I said a little while ago, it will play follow the leader and continue to go through. If you get to an intersection and there's not a vehicle in front of you, even though if it's green, you will have to hit the shifter or press on the accelerator to momentarily continue. So the light could be green, it's been green for quite a while, but you still have to essentially tell it the vehicle to still continue through, otherwise it starts slowing down and wants to stop at a green light. Speeding with Autopilot. So I was just testing it out with, nobody was around, late at night. So light was turning red, the vehicle may not stop in time, and it will automatically hit the brakes hard, and it will go past the line. So I was doing like 20 over, and well, I haven't done that again. Or at least I got a little wiser. Self-parking could be a lot better. Vehicles can sometimes have issues detecting parking spots, so unless those lines are very clear, it's not going to pick it up. It can parallel park. I've done that. It can back in. I regularly do that one because I've made it pick it up better. No, it doesn't pull in. When activated, it seems a bit drunk. I can do it much quicker with my backup camera. Now I have a backup camera for the first time. I rarely ever backed in. Now it's a cinch. Just don't even look back.
Have you used the one that you come out from somewhere and call it and it comes?
Oh, for crying out loud.
No?
Hold on. Apparently.
Oh, you had to give in, yeah.
I have to bless.
Just check your phone and give you access.
That's what I'm doing right now.
You have to go back out.
Probably.
Just refresh.
Backslide. No. Back one slide.
Whatever. All right, hold on. Let's go back to this right here. Let's take care of that. This is probably key. Yeah, plus access.
Send request.
Yeah. Blessing. Blessed.
You get access? Oh, you did?
Yeah, so let's move forward.
You go on your Discord on your phone, check to make sure that it's on.
There we go.
All right.
So here I am starting it.
We want to make sure that they're watching it.
Pretty sure. It's only one person.
So as you might be able to see, it's pulling into the freaking line. Now it's going to go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth.
Is this a car on its own?
This is the car on its own. This is my car. So, and it's, you know, kind of far off.
Did it actually pick that lane now? Because it looked like it was going in
It
the other
has a
one.
double lane. Oh, there it is.
Yeah, double line.
It has 3 cameras.
Oh, at least there's like 7 or 8. It's just showing the the rear view and the two sides. There's also an assembly out front, right behind the rear view mirror. And well, there's another one on the rear view, so there's multiple in the rear view mirror. So as you can see, it's going back, out and out, turning all over the place, and then finally done.
Right.
And then puts it into park. So I do a lot more gracefully, but
Not bad though.
not, no, it's not bad, not bad. But, you know, it definitely looks like it's drunk or it's just
Get better.
learning to drive. All right, so now auto navigation. To activate auto navigation, well, first off, you have to already have something set in the GPS, the trip plan in there. You have to have well, actually, start off by activating autopilot. Really only works on highways and won't work on city streets. This, yet again, this does not have the full self-drive. The lane changing can get annoying. So it's always trying to optimize as opposed to, you know, just saying, hey, actually, you know what, I'm okay for the moment. So it's always trying to get up to speed and live up to that speed. And it makes some interesting choices, especially when you're 0.2 miles away from the exit you're supposed to be getting off of. And you just have to tell it to ignore it until you just get fed up and turn it off. And like I've used it on going north, and it's just like, and it's just like, no, screw it, we'll just stay with this crowd, be happy with this crowd. And it doesn't really, like I tried using it going down to Miami once and coming off the turnpike, and with everybody cramming into the exit, it wasn't working out too well. So here's a screenshot of Autopilot Activated. So now instead of having the two lines on the side, it went to one single line in front to note that the autopilot's active. So they changed their interface a bit. So this is actually from my vehicle. So now that big blurry icon is now what is used to activate it. Yet again, the single line, and there's a lane change that it's trying to do with now with the added blind spot camera happening. A physical hack that pretty much in the community everybody knows, but don't fucking do it. Just don't. So vehicle does check to make sure you're trying to pay attention. So here, quick little video of just the alert it can show you. Like it glows blue, it's got that little text box at the bottom, and
It's just what? It needs to be done.
For this, you have to give the wheel a little tug so that it knows that you're paying attention, even though you probably aren't anymore.
It's like a seatbelt indicator.
Oh, really?
Yeah, right.
They just.
When you don't have it on, it alerts you.
It wants to feel some feedback on the steering wheel.
Oh.
Yeah.
So you just put the thumb there.
Yeah, so some people have made weights, freaking
God.
water bottles, anything that won't allow just enough pressure not to disengage the autopilot. So yeah, you just get these from, these are all bad ideas. So that one's like, looks like a freaking clay pliable weight. You just tuck it aside, so it gives a little bit. And that's that one as well, is another one that I've seen. But the trip, bringing it all together from Fort Lauderdale, Raleigh, Windsor, and Toronto and back. Approximately 3,400 miles or 5,700 kilometers round trip. So Fort Lauderdale, Raleigh, Windsor, Toronto. Although wouldn't want to try crossing Windsor Bridge today. Yes, all Air Canadian codes start with a Y. Purpose of the trip? Well, COVID happened. Most of you probably fairly well But it was almost 2 years since I seen any of my family that are all up in Canada. And I needed to get the hell out of the area for a bit because, just going stir crazy. What I chose to drive at that time? Well, PCR issues. In order to enter Canada in November and to pretty much present day, one must have a PCR test that is negative, that is no less than 3 days old. And with any PCR test, you're not guaranteed a delivery date. They say 2 days, but I got 1 in 4. And I was glad that I decided to do 2 PCR tests because the one that I expected to get in about a day, one time, actually, back in 2 days, kind of ruined my trip because I was expecting another day, but I got a day early, and then the exact same place was 2 days late.
Actually nailed Jello to a tree.
Yes, that's yeah, nailing Jello to a tree. Like, continuing with booking a flight, I was risking my money or paying for extra insurance. If I tested positive, and that's really to get into Canada, as I said earlier, to get into Canada, I could even board a flight or a train in Canada. I have to have a clean PCR test. I have to have a negative PCR test.
Does it matter if you're a citizen or not? It's still the same rule.
So I'm a citizen, so I'm dual. At this point, I'm dual,
Oh, wow, they still made together.
and they still make, yeah.
They made him get 2. Just kidding.
One for each citizen.
Let's come in and let's go out.
Yeah. Well, it was quite funny when I pulled up to the Canadian customs, they wouldn't even open up the freaking window until I put my mask on. And then when I crossed into Detroit, the guy at customs on the Detroit side didn't give a fuck. He was already like, give me your papers. So, and if I fly into Toronto, I still need to get a fucking train ticket. And to even return on a train, I have to get another PCR test. And effectively, with my insurance and everything that's going on here, the PCR tests are free. But in Canada, they're still a couple $100 a pop. Yeah, and with the PCR test, you're not necessarily guaranteed a delivery. Like, I think it was less than a month ago, I was hearing about, I did a PCR test two weeks ago, and I still have yet to receive my results. I could fly to Detroit. That used to be simple. Technically Romulus, Michigan. It's cheap. It would cost me $80, not even most of the time. Windsor has a tunnel bus, but it's running 2 years. It costs $5. So I just take an Uber or whatever to one of their stops, and boom, done. But you know what? Cabot, Metro Cab used to drive across, and there are no drivers available. Veterans Cab from Windsor, well, they can drop me off at the airport, but they absolutely refuse to pick me up. Robert Q, which is a little shuttle bus that runs from Detroit to Toronto through Windsor and London, Ontario. They weren't running, and a rental car was $1,000 plus a week. Fuck that. And when I land in Detroit, I may not even have my PCR test. So screw that. So I drove. Took my PCR, and later that evening I left. Worst case, I get a positive, and I have to turn around. And it gave me a good excuse to visit a friend up in Raleigh, Durham, stay there for a couple days. But while I was up there, just got in, slept, got up in the morning, expecting to have a free day. Test result was already in. And pretty much everything started driving, everything was fine up until fucking West Virginia.
So your PCR date starts from
When you get the results. Yeah, so that's where they're getting some forgiveness. Because otherwise, by the time I get my results, it's already expired.
Right.
So, damn charger didn't go all the way in. Got a bunch of error alerts. Right tip of the prong inside snapped the fuck off. At first, I thought, something happened at the previous supercharger. Only mild panic setting in. You know, I got this little fucking, well, not nowhere, but halfway, you know, little, someplace I don't have any conveniences. My PCR results only have a day and a half left before they'd expired at this point. Contact with Tesla support. Fucking.
Oh, they have a support for the car?
Oh, you can call them up texting, well, texting for the most part. So you pretty much just through the app you start and eventually start texting me. Since it was past 6 p.m. at this point, nearest service center was in Columbus, Ohio. Guy actually asked if I could actually make it to a service center, even though you probably could see all the details about my vehicle and having, 20% battery left, and actually had the audacity. Hey, you think you can make it to Columbus? Yeah. Thankfully now I have some extra tools, small tools to get any dislodged parts. But somebody had some tools and we were able to get the plastic bit out, and I was actually able to plug it all the way in. Guy that helped me, well, he also pulled in with the Model 3, said, oh yeah, there's been a recall. But yeah, but we're not done yet. So I started charging. I started ramping up on the display, so I'm showing I'm good at it. And then I went to the coffee shop, and then I get back, there was no progress. So, I should have been done by now. It said 20 minutes for the charge. It just went up. I tried plugging it up, moved the vehicle from 3A to 3B. Same issue, more talking to Tesla. Eventually moved it to 4B, a different circuit, and it started charging normal. Panic subsides. The entire third circuit's fine.
How did you plug it in with the broken?
No, I got the plastic piece out, and then I was able to put it in, and it could charge it again.
What's out when the screwdriver was working?
No, you have to get pliers and put both prongs.
But yeah, I had to get the debris out. At first was getting the debris out, but then I plugged it in, and the entire circuit was fucked. So
Was the problem on your car or their?
No, it's on their circuit.
yeah.
You
it's on the circuit.
bypass, is there a way to bypass the actual
No.
lung? No? That's bad news.
Yeah, me panicking like, oh, okay, I'm gonna have to get a hotel. I'm gonna have to do this. How's this gonna play out? I'm in Charleston, West Virginia. I don't know anybody in this here, and I'm like halfway from Raleigh to Windsor, and I'm like, what the fuck?
So the venue owner, like the law manager or something, they don't have like basic repair.
Well, put it to you this way: they pretty much have nothing to do with it aside from having it on their property. They don't manage it. And in this particular case, this wasn't a Wawa. This was in the middle of there was a Starbucks nearby, a Shoney's, and a hotel. So it was not in the Sheetz or Wawa or any other.
So how does Wawa? So they'll get like a report from Tesla and a check saying, "Here, we paid you."
Pretty much, yeah. So they're all networked up. Like you have actually on the display when you're going on the car, you can actually see how many charging stalls are there and how many are available. So
But is Tesla picking up the bill from Wawa for the electricity?
I think it's all separate.
What happens if you can't pay? Meaning the cell phone is disabled, for example.
Well, first off, cell phone doesn't really matter.
But how would you pay?
It's already linked up.
The stations are next.
No, because you have an account,
And
a user account on Tesla.com essentially.
Right.
You have your account and you have your credit card linked up there.
So the
So
attack.
the charger makes a call to Tesla.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's all
but it
networked.
knows your vehicle ID. As soon as you plug it
Your
in,
VIN.
your VIN number on your VIN
Goes
gets
up to
transmitted.
Tesla, Tesla says, okay, you can charge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, wow.
What you were talking about the people trying to like yank out your cable while it's charging and plug it into theirs, like that's the easiest thing for them. Not, it would still be annoying, but that's the easiest thing for someone to catch, right? It'd be like, hey Tesla, someone yanked this out and plugged it in. Like,
No, but they're not. It doesn't matter.
We're not even
That's-
talking about that issue yet. I mean,
oh, I know. I'm just saying, like,
That-
because it connects.
oh yeah, and the
No,
car,
but
the
they're
car
not
will say.
charging. They're not charging you for theirs.
Well, I
Right?
know, but like you could tell Tesla to slap the wrist and say, don't do that.
Well, the thing is, if it's for the J1772, there's no identifying information being exchanged.
That's what I was gonna say, like the plug gets
Yeah, it's
rid of
dumb.
the token, right?
Okay.
Yeah, it's dumb. Negative into positive, even though I wasted about 2-3 hours fighting with Tesla and just being in a mild panic. Now that my vehicle was charging, eventually ventured into Starbucks nearby, and apparently the guy worked at VMware, because earlier he was pulling in, and I was just like, no, don't even fucking bother here. Just get out, go find another one. Don't use 3. And ended up talking to him, and apparently he used to, and I still do have expensive electrical bills because I have 4 racks in my house, and his wife's eyes rolled. So ultimately, I did get it fixed. Pulled it when I was on the phone or texting back and forth with the Tesla representative. They did tell me I could pull into either go to Columbus or some place in Evansville, Michigan, I think, or go to one of the Toronto service centers. So I told them I would be eventually going there.
Okay, question. I saw this in Orlando. I saw an actual car jumping a Tesla. How do you do that?
Jumping a Tesla? With ramps or something? Or?
No, like jumping.
Jump starting.
Jumping starting. Yeah.
I have yet to expose my.
You can do it. I saw it.
Are you sure it was like doing like? Are you sure they knew what they were doing? Like, maybe
Well, there is a 12-volt battery.
It wasn't. This was a NASA model.
Yeah.
I was coming out,
The vehicles
and then I
technically
see this
have
truck pulling in, and they
2
were
distinct
like
batteries.
doing
they
something.
looked like they knew what they were saying.
Yeah.
I
don't know how far he was gonna get with that
because I
jump.
thought it was
I mean,
trying
there could be two guys like, hey, let's try this. Like, you know,
Wow. Maybe
Well,
I thought that
I'm sure
moment,
they
you're
could.
right.
They just don't could hook it. But none of the leads are exposed. So I would have to take.
There's a 12-volt battery, so?
Yes, there's the main battery, which you use to, and then there's a 12 volt that helps power the regular stuff, just like your normal car.
Not the car.
Based off what you
Not
have
the car.
there, somebody could probably create an adapter that connects 2 of those.
Yeah, there's been proposed, but I would have to rip up the front in order to get, because there's nothing immediately accessible to get into in the front.
I think the 12 volts for something for
Or like
just
the electronics.
The
for certain
electronic.
electronics. It does,
Step down thing.
all the electronics don't get charged from the.
I think some new creators will start. Have you seen the one that they use for drag racing, where they stripped out the whole interior and stuff?
No,
The flats are the fastest ones, right? They give you clarity.
but yeah, I was told that I didn't have any issue, like they would cover it. Got back here and had it taken care of, and it took longer for them to find somebody to do it than to do that.
So they don't have, you don't have like towing or something?
Well, they would have towed me if I couldn't have charged. So I would have had that,
Okay.
and they probably would have brought me
For
up
free.
for free to Columbus.
That's part of your
Loan
support package.
But the only positive part, well, thankfully, it was a quick fix. So even if they did tow me to Columbus, and I had to get a hotel room.
Right.
Wake up in Ohio.
Well, it's along the way. It's in the right direction.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay. Positive, yeah.
Yeah, I was just hoping I wouldn't have to get another PCR. Wait up.
You have to do a PCR to get into the tow truck.
So, back on the road, moving again. I ended up in the middle of fucking nowhere. It was dark. It was like nothing, no lights. The cameras couldn't detect anything. So, pretty much, there was nothing really to detect. It could see its immediate lines. It could stay in its lanes. But if I wanted to switch lanes, it was telling me, no, can't do it. We're not doing this. And I would have to take over and do it manually.
All right.
Hey, see you later, man.
Thank you.
So rain can also cause some issues if it's a little too heavy. I've had that happen, where it can't detect things. So it just,
You gotta go full manual.
you gotta go full manual. So really, this was the scary part. This was the longest stretch from from Charleston to Chillicothe, Ohio. It's estimated that I would get there with a 25% charge. If you ever happen to travel through here, for the love of God, stay on 35. GPS told me some weird things, and I eventually arrived at Coyote Supercharger with 5% left on the battery.
Oh,
Yeah. Long distance.
What happens when you're at 5%? Is that like?
Oh, you're redlining. Like it
That's
turns
a
off
queue
some
section.
features and like,
I'm excited.
I got
but
questions
yeah, I
I've been
just-
wanting to ask.
but yeah, so even though driving wise, it didn't really turn off much, like nothing that I could really notice, but it was just like, it was just telling me, this will not work, that one. I forget what happened, but it was, I've never been that low before. But yeah, I just pulled in like with by the skin of my teeth with like 5%.
The Teslas do have a little bit of buffer though. You go for a bit.
Oh yeah, there's always a reserve.
Some other ones don't. Like,
Yeah, but we're already violating rule number 1 with about draining the battery. Don't go below 20%.
Yeah. But if it's like from one spot to another, it's that far, it's like.
Yeah, but so then on the way back, it actually gave me the correct route, and I rolled into West Virginia with 18%.
Is it because you were just gunning it?
No, I actually was doing just a little bit over the speed limit. But yeah, like,
But that is a cool thing, like when you drive faster, it will adjust how much power, like.
well, you pretty much, you could say if you can, driving at 60, go 400 miles, but if you, even though it's high in the sky, but if you go 80, you're gonna go 200 miles.
Yeah.
The faster you go, or well, really the stop and go is what kills it.
Does it get
Yeah,
that
it should.
energy back from braking?
Yes, it does, but you're not braking all the time now, are you?
No, I'm just wondering.
Especially in this situation when it's all highway driving.
That's true.
But yeah, like for whatever reason, instead of keeping me on 35, which would have been this, it decided, no, you're gonna turn around here and you're gonna go this way through all the fucking hick country. And I ended up stopping here, just trying to find a spot to go take a leak. And the guy's washing for clothes, and I had to go, well, Mark, as I said, like earlier with the superchargers, not all of them were sheets and wawas. I marked my territory all the way up and down. So, but yeah, eventually I got to, then eventually I finally got to Windsor, the Ambassador Bridge, which may or may not be blocked at the moment. And a guy knows vegetarian poutine. I was expected to get there at around 11 p.m. Actually got there at 2:10 in the morning. 35% left of the charge from Toledo I got.
It says alongside borders charter cruise.
Yeah, so there was a blip after customs. I noticed after that the cellular service on the car itself went out momentarily. AT&T is actually the carrier for all the cell service on Teslas. Probably switch to Rogers or Bell Canada, like my regular cell does, but no extra charges. No extra charges. Charging at 110, 120 is not the life. So this the Windsor here, and oh look, a bunch of Tesla chargers. Nearest Tesla supercharger. Way the fuck over there. And with the PCR requirements and tolls and whatnot, I ain't traveling back and forth. So
They didn't give you an issue crossing back and forth?
I'm dual. So.
But with the PCR test, you're like, I got it.
Well, no, I didn't. But thankfully, my mother lives in this area where I went. And although that supercharger there, just to get to it, cost me 7 to 11% of my battery. Yeah.
11.
Yeah. So, yeah, like I was charged as much as possible. My mother's place in Bell River with the 120. Plugged that in, and she said she didn't even notice the charges on her electric bill. So that's a plus. Now, as I said, nearest charging in Windsor area is Detroit. First Canadian, at that point, the first Canadian superchargers in this place called Comber. And they just announced a week or so ago that they're actually in the fourth quarter of this year, they're going to finally put a fucking supercharger in that area. So some shots of Comber. At least there was a Tim Hortons there. Still functioning payphone for some strange reason.
Wow.
And screen of my, so at that point, $7.73 Canadian, and with 5 minutes left to charge.
Wow. A payphone.
Still worked.
Did you put a quarter in it?
No, fuck that. Why?
You have to verify.
Well, I heard Tom.
Oh, that's awesome.
So plug share, proving its worth as something to be Tepperman's. I know none of you have heard of Tepperman's, but it's a furniture wholesaler, whatever you want to. But thanks to plug share, they decided for whatever reason, Tim Hortons decided to put a level 2 charger there. So I chilled there for about a half an hour. Tim Hortons was nearby, but downside was a small little hike, a 5-minute walk. No sidewalks in the area. Timmy's was technically closed. Tim Hortons was technically closed when I walked in, and they gave me shit for it, but they still served me. So this one was a little bit underpowered, 30 amps and 200 volts, as opposed to 240. Cable was a little bit deceiving, so really they had this retractor, and I just went fuck it and pulled it down and plugged it in. So you can see the little thin wire trying to pull back. I actually couldn't even get into my driver's side without straining the cable.
Was it meant to like?
And it was free.
Was it meant to be in reverse or not?
I would highly recommend pulling in reverse, but I think they're probably looking more at Nissan Leafs, where people just pull right in and the ports right up in front. But yeah, another fun thing out in the middle of the county in the Windsor area, oversized stop signs, snow, fog, and the car stops earlier than anticipated.
Because it's bigger.
Yeah,
That makes sense.
Like you too close.
Also, I got kicked out of FSD beta at this point in time because I was in Canada.
Oh, no.
Noticed a couple days later, I was no longer enrolled, but once I got back here, I was able to sign up again. So, driving from Windsor to Toronto. Although I don't know if anybody can really read that. Zanzibar, little funny saying, it's a strip club, no pass, no ass, waxed and waxed, open weekdays, because in Ontario, they were doing the vaccine passport. So even just to walk into a lot of places, I had a scan of my CDC card and they looked at it and I just read it. It's the section you care about, my second vaccination proof right there, even though I already had the booster. On my way there, Brampton Supercharger, 16 stalls, biggest supercharging station I've seen at this point in time. Before it was just a dozen, maybe. Wow. So took up a nice long line. Because most of them are either 4, 8, more like 8. Some end up being a dozen, but 16 was the largest at that point. And I filled up the 95 because I didn't know what the hell was going to happen at my hotel. I might just leave the vehicle parked the entire time I'm in Toronto. But I did end up making a delightful mistake. So at my hotel, I was, instead of my regular go-to, that's $130 a night, nice and downtown and cheap for the area. Pay parking, $25 a day, and a level 2 charger available if you get valet for $45 a day. But I kind of ended up at the hotel next door's lot, where they had $20 a day and a free level 2 charger. So that was nice. Leaving Toronto. Fuck. It snowed. All right, winter driving. There are no snow brush survivalists. What the fuck do we need this for? But kept it in my trunk. Snow can kill autopilot. Autopilot relies on the cameras, sensors. And if those get covered, autopilot bails. Roads covered in snow, well, I guess it's just one big line, right? So I can't tell where the lanes are. Heck, I couldn't even tell where the lanes were. Sensors got covered. It can determine, so it can't determine objects in front of it, but it does seem to have a heater. So the damn sensor wasn't even blocked. Why no work? But brushing off and clearing off, everything started to work again. But when the snow built back up 5-10 minutes later, the autopilot deactivates. So 32 Fahrenheit out, there's snow. Some more snow shots. Returning home, thankfully uneventful. One thing I was watching was my tire pressure. Was kind of funny to see go from 47 PSI, even though the tires were rated for 45. But when warmed up, because tires do warm up and the PSI goes up. So it went up to 47 and then dropped all the way down to 40. And then once I got back down here, it was back to 45. It'll alert around 37 PSI. Although to note, in ice and snow conditions, it's actually all right to have your tires a little bit low, just so that it makes more traction to the road. I've had quite a few issues with this car. Covered the charging port issue. GPS issues. When I first got the vehicle, goddamn GPS wouldn't start. Would just stop. It would always think I was at my house. That's where I had a parking beside the back. And you can't go over 35 miles an hour. No,
Like at all, or on autopilot?
On autopilot. My next thing. Took them 2 rounds to fix it, but at least they have a little truck that they send to your house, and that they try that first before you actually have to go to the dealership and get the big guns out, essentially. And I haven't had a problem since. Aero shields, they know they have a fucking problem. I've had 3 covered, even after then admitting. All the models seem to have this issue, and while I was there getting this issue fixed, heard other people having the exact same issue. The damn covers keep on falling off. I've probably spent $600 of my own money getting this fixed, and even though I have yet to do it, but there's apparently a metal aero shield kit that I can buy.
What's the arrow shield?
It's essentially the cover underneath the vehicle that protects it from all the debris and water and whatnot. So totally worth it. Autopilot's totally worth it. Generally more relaxing, even though it caught, I got some gripes, but I had less driving fatigue. How you have to plan your trips out a bit more. Can't just charge anywhere. And generally, like prices, the supercharging can vary by time of day and state or region. Like found that Georgia into North Carolina would be cheap. Their service needs some improvement, especially with unrealistic or just plain old ignorant service advisors. And now Q&A. All right.
Yeah, so what's the reserve you said when it hits 0% battery?
I'm not sure. I'm sure it varies vehicle to vehicle. Let's just be honest. I don't want to touch that.
Okay. Was this your first EV?
This is my first EV.
Okay, so you mentioned some of these oh shit moments on the road, but like what happens when someone probably not as knowledgeable, right, of these kinds of things that can occur, runs out of battery on the road? Like what can they expect?
They can expect to be towed to the nearest supercharger. That's, I don't know if the Tesla will cover it or not, probably not. Or any manufacturer, because really it's like you ran out of gas. What are you gonna do when you run out of gas?
Well, AAA will bring gas down.
Yeah, and there are some other kits that, although they cost like $6,000, but they do have batteries that can act as a
What do you
supercharger.
think of the Mustang Mach-E or other competing EVs that might be in comparison with Tesla?
The Tesla Cybertruck is cheaper and more well equipped than the new Lightning, spec for spec at this point in time. I find them a little bit lackluster. But you know, when I got this vehicle, those were not even comparables at the time.
Right, but what about now, currently?
Now,
Right. Like,
Lucid Rivian, like I'd be looking at what they're charging. Like right now, Tesla's got so much of a lead. You know, I can actually, you know, I'll face it, I made it back and forth from Toronto. I'm not sure if I can do that with Rivian. Like it's like initially you could say like electric vehicles are great for in and around town, especially if you're charging at home and you know where everything is. But I have no experience whether or not if Rivian has something that makes life a little bit easier to find chargers. And even when you pull up to a charger, how long is it going to take you to charge? Is it going to take you a half an hour or is it going to take you 10? So that's that is definitely a question. I would like to think that they have the CCS adapters, although Ford has claimed they can fill it up in 5 minutes, even though they copied Tesla's homework and they put the hook for the charger out front, even though that loop that they have in the charger is actually meant to protect the cable. So if they're going to copy somebody else's homework, do it right.
how does credit, like the credit incentives work for EV or owning an EV vehicle?
I got none.
You got
So-
none.
I got none.
So how do you think they work? Like nowadays, like the $7,000 tax credit, stuff like that.
It's California.
Yeah,
You get a law in
like
California.
yeah, Florida gave nothing. Although the last time I got an EV tax credit, even though it wasn't for an actual EV, is when in 2008 I bought a smart car for a while. I had a smart car for a while. Actually leased it, and the government of Canada gave me $2,000.
You think it's still too pricey to own an EV as opposed to a gas vehicle?
Depends who you are and what you get the vehicle for. But overall, I'm saving on gas at the moment. Although obviously my car payment is a little bit higher, but I think
Here, Mark,
Somebody's trying
may
to.
I slide in 2 questions?
Yep, go ahead.
So question number 1 is insurance. Have you noticed the insurance go lower, you know, as opposed to when you used to have Volkswagen?
my insurance will relatively stay the same, but I have an entirely fucked up insurance scenario with where I live right now. Unfortunately, somebody was in my community was shot in front of their door and died, and the HOA community had for the common area had the insurance company just drop them, so we had to get another freaking insurance. Let alone my regular house insurance more than doubling this year. So I'm not sure if I got a nice balance because everything's kind of screwed.
Sure. And my last question, I heard through the grapevine that paint on Tesla vehicles tends to be very soft. So people have to actually, out of pocket, pay for PPF. PPF is paint protection film, for you guys that don't know, which protects from rock chips and
Yeah.
so on and so forth. Takes it, costs about $4,000 per car. Did you have to invest in something like that too?
I have yet to do that, although are you local or are you from California or something? Where are you located?
I'm local. I'm in Florida.
Okay, because I'm just like trying to determine if you're well. Yeah, for the most part, It's been okay. I do have a couple spots that need some attention. I do have a touch-up kit, but I haven't had too many issues. And I do got, as I said, I got a couple spots, but I don't have a million spots. So I have been thinking about doing a ceramic or something to protect it, but we'll see. So it hasn't been that bad. It's not as horrible as probably some people make it out to be.
All right.
Sure.
My last question.
Thanks for the answer. Appreciate it.
My last question. What do you think of Comma AI?
Excuse me?
Comma AI. What do you think of Comma AI? It's a self-driving kit that you could hook on to, like aftermarket, you can hook on to your Honda Civic or just your common vehicle.
I
It gives it
have.
self-driving.
No,
Not aware? Okay, go ahead.
You have it? Oh, we'd love to see that here.
And my last one,
Could be the next speaker.
Yeah.
would you say that there's some unknown or hidden costs of owning an EV that the average consumer is unaware of? Like, are there some hidden costs along the line, along the path of ownership?
I can't say anything's really all that hidden. Like everything seems kind of relatively normal. You know, like there's also kind of the hidden cost of living in Florida where you have to replace your tires more frequently. But I don't think I've had any major surprises other than having to replace the aerofoils too frequently a year ago.
Thanks, Helix.
Any other questions online or here?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So, you know, I got a little confused when you said this week, auto navigation.
Mhm.
Or even previously, before we switched to auto navigation.
Auto nav. All
I
right.
know auto nav seemed like point A, point B, but on the city streets, what we were doing was like there was self-driving also here as well.
All right, hold on. Let me actually hear you. Considering that he's shut down.
Yeah. So like before you did the auto nav on the highway.
You can stop recording now.
also doing self-driving. Yeah, we're trying to close that.
Oh, that should be the option.